ever watched a self-appointed Bible expert try to explain atheism while he or she clearly never opened a car manual? Imagine a Christian walking into an atheist-only party shouting, "We know exactly what you believe," and then realizing they're the only one who can't find the door. Today, I'm taking you behind the curtain of that very scene. We'll dissect the Christian-centric myth factory that insists atheism is a religion, that we atheists are empty-shelled humans, and that only the born again hold the real truth. Spoiler alert, the jokes are priceless, the logic is, well, you'll see. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll have a toolbox of comebacks, a fresh perspective on why atheism isn't a belief system at all, and enough ammunition to leave every Christian troll speechless. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single second. Welcome to Secular Strike Back. I'm your host, Toothless Grin Kim. All right, let's start with the basics. I'm an ex-Christian turned atheist. That means I grew up with a Christian belief system, went through Sunday school, baptized, and even bragged about being born again. Then, boom, I deconstructed that entire Christian narrative. Why? Because I dug deep, read the original texts, and realized the Christian claim of exclusive truth was, well, exclusive, but not in a good way. When you spend a decade inside a Christian cult-like community, well, when you spend a decade or even a lifetime inside a Christian cult-like community, I spent several decades, you learn the language. You learn that Christians love to put themselves on a pedestal, calling themselves the chosen ones, while branding everyone else as sinful, lost, or misguided. And guess what? That's precisely the script they try to force on us atheists every single time they open their mouths. In this video, I'm going to break down 3 classic moves. The atheism is a religion gambit, why it's a logical dead end. The "you're empty-shelled without God" narrative, how Christian-centric meaning-making crumbles under scrutiny. The born-again gatekeeping rant, why you can't police someone's spiritual status when you can't even define it. And I'll sprinkle in the perfect comebacks, analogies, and a few Christian versus engine jokes that will have you laughing while you educate the next unsuspecting troll. So let's rev up the engine of reason and drive straight into the Christian mechanic's garage. Picture this. You hand a Christian a car that's sputtering. They never took a class on internal combustion, but they're convinced they can fix it because I know how everything works. Trust me. They pop the hood, poke around, and surprise! They start shouting that the car is actually a bicycle. That's exactly what happens when a Christian declares atheism is a religion. So why is that claim so ridiculous? Because a religion, by sociologists, is a system of beliefs about the supernatural, accompanied by rituals, moral codes, and often a community that shares those beliefs. Atheism, on the other hand, is simply the absence of belief in deities. No rituals, no holy texts, no pew sitting. It's a non-belief, not a belief. Imagine telling a Christian that believing there's no Santa Claus is a religion. They'd probably laugh, maybe even feel sorry for the poor kid who still thinks Santa exists. Why? Because there's no supernatural entity to worship, no doctrine, no dogma. It's just a story. The same applies to atheism. If you argue that not believing in God is a belief, if you Christians argue that not believing in a God is a belief, you're saying that the lack of a belief is itself a belief. That's a mind twist that would make even the most seasoned philosopher's head spin. Belief implies affirmation. Non-belief implies negation. They're opposites, not interchangeable. So, the next time a Christian tells you atheism is a religion, just smile and say, "I'm sorry, I left my religion building kit at home. I only carry a toolbox of logic and a spare tire of skepticism." Here's a real-world example. I was scrolling through a YouTube comment section of another atheist podcast when a Christian troll typed, "Atheism is a religion." The comment thread erupted with laughing. The bottom line, when a Christian tries to force a label on atheism, they're like a mechanic who insists your car is actually a spaceship. The more they repeat it, the more it sounds like a broken record, and the louder the audience's laughter. Another favorite Christian line is, "Without God, life is meaningless." It's as if Christians think the only way to get a GPS signal is to stand on a mountaintop and shout, "Divine direction." Let's unpack why that's pure projection. Meaning doesn't come from a deity. It emerges from our experiences, relationships, and personal goals. Whether you're an atheist, a Christian, or a dog, you can find purpose in love, curiosity, art, or even the simple pleasure of a perfectly good movie. When a Christian says an atheist is empty, they're really talking about themselves. They're really saying, "I need God to give me a purpose, otherwise I'm lost." It's a classic case of psychological projection. They're externalizing their need for an external source of meaning onto us atheists. Look at the world's most brilliant scientists, artists, humanitarians, and activists, many of whom identify as atheists. Their contributions? Meaningful to humanity. Their lives? Full of purpose that didn't require a heavenly supervisor. If you think a Christian can't have purpose without God, you're basically saying a fish can't swim without water. The fish would go on a spiritual retreat and try to learn to float in midair. Ridiculous, right? Same with atheists. We don't need a divine tether to stay afloat. Earlier, a Christian asked an atheist on a comment thread, "What gives you meaning if you don't believe in God?" And my answer to all of you is, I give my own self meaning. I create my own purpose in life. No God needed. I find meaning in how I live my life, how I choose to live my life, who I love, what I stand for, etc. My purpose? I create my own purpose. Right at this very moment, right now, my purpose is doing this podcast and educating the public about atheism and the damages of religion, especially that of Christianity. The claim that atheists are barren, meaningless shells is a cover-up for the Christian's own existential insecurity. When you own your meaning, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. And you make the Christian's argument look like a badly written plot twist. Next, let's dive into the holy water of controversy. Born again. A Christian recently told me, if you're not born again, you're not a true Christian. I was born again once. I have the scars to prove it. They still refuse to accept that. Why? Born again is a phrase that shifts like quicksand. For some Christians, it means a literal moment of conversion experience. For others, it's a weekly church attendance badge. Because the definition is fluid, it becomes a convenient weapon to exclude anyone who doesn't fit the speaker's preferred mold. When a Christian tries to police who is real and who isn't, they're employing a classic in-group, out-group bias. It's the same as a kid at the playground saying, "Only the kids with the red shirts can play." It's arbitrary, exclusionary, and mostly about power. I grew up in a fundamental Baptist setting, got baptized as a child, and truly believed I was born again. After years of studying, I realized the doctrine was bullshit and preys on the vulnerability of individuals using fear tactics and manipulation to keep its followers obedient and within the religion. Christianity would not survive if not for childhood indoctrination and these manipulation and fear tactics they use. I left the religion, but the label stuck on the Christian radar, as though it were a scarlet letter. Now imagine a Christian who says, "Only I can decide who's truly saved." That's like a hairdresser insisting that only they can cut hair, while you're standing there with a pair of scissors and a YouTube tutorial. Spoiler: the hairdresser's claim is false, and the hair will still grow, whether or not they bless it. So why does the born-again label matter? Because it's a gate that keeps the Christian in control, preventing anyone from questioning the why and how of their belief system. The moment an atheist or a former Christian refuses to submit, the Christian frantically rewrites the scripture to protect their ego. The born-again gate is a flimsy fence. You can jump over it with a single sentence. "I was born again once, and that's why I know it's just a metaphor, not a magical ticket." The Christian may never accept it, but the audience will see the absurdity. Let's bring it all together with the biggest metaphor I have: the car. A Christian walking into an atheist forum is like a person who never studied engines trying to fix a race car while shouting, "I know exactly what's wrong." Let's draw the parallels, shall we? Just as the Christian insists atheism is a religion, the mechanic insists the engine is a heater. Both are fundamental misidentifications that prevent any meaningful repair. The mechanic says, "I read a pamphlet on cars." The Christian says, "I read the Bible." But neither actually studied the real problem. The car owner, me, the ex-Christian, knows the car's history, the mileage, the quirks. The Christian ignores that, insisting on their own theology-based solution. And the result? The engine stays broken, while the mechanic, otherwise known as the Christian, looks embarrassed when the car sputters out of the garage and everybody in the waiting room is laughing. Bottom line is that when a Christian tries to define atheism without ever having studied it, they're not just wrong, They're hilariously out of their depth. And that's comedy gold for us atheists. All jokes aside, the reason we keep responding to these Christian claims isn't just to score points. It's about education. Every time we correct the atheism is a religion myth, we chip away at the stereotype that atheists are some secret cult. Every time we debunk the empty soul narrative, we remind people that meaning is human-made, not deity assigned. And every time we expose the born-again gatekeeping, we protect the right of anyone, Christian or not, to define their own spiritual identity. I need you, my fellow atheists, skeptics, deconstructors, and ex-Christians, to share your battle stories. Have you ever been cornered by a Christian who tried to rewrite atheism? And I know you have. Did you have a witty comeback that left them speechless? Or perhaps you've seen the damage of Christianity on a friend's mental health and want to help? Drop a comment below. Let's build a repository of real experiences that show the power of rational discourse. Remember, the more we educate about atheism and the harms of Christianity, the fear, the guilt, the oppression, the closer we get to a world where negative stereotypes finally disappear. Knowledge is the best rev engine for societal change. If you liked this deep dive into the Christian mechanics mishaps, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss another episode of Secular Strike Back. Share this video with anyone who's ever been on the receiving end of a born-again lecture or a atheism is a religion rant. Together, we'll keep the laughter rolling and the myths crumbling. And if you enjoy this podcast and live within the United States and would like to support it, please consider making a $3 monthly donation by going to my Patreon and becoming a member. The link is in the description below. And Secular Strike Back also now has a newsletter to which you can subscribe to. The link to that is also in the description below. Once I get enough subscribers, I will be able to start sending out the newsletter on a regular basis. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep striking back, one logical argument at a time.